Hello, welcome to segment 5, Mountains. The first thing I want to point out here is we've passed a milestone in the game. It is now the year 3886. Can you believe that? That's just amazing to me. I just glanced down and I was like, holy smokes. Um, but yeah, so let's talk about mountains. So, um, mountains are probably, arguably, nah, they're definitely like the hardest thing for people to do, I think. I think it's very difficult for someone to just start with the nice flat green ground, pull up some earth, and make a believable, realistic looking mountain. I'm kind of nervous about this because I don't really know how I'm going to show it either. Um, but I'll just maybe just kind of talk about saying there's millions of different types of mountains that you can make, you know, due to the tectonic plates and how they slide across each other or crush into each other or push up and over another one. And then there's also like hot spots and magma points where lava comes out of the earth's crust and pools up and makes mountains. So basically, like before going into this, if you're gonna attempt to make some mountains, definitely get on Google first and just look at some mountains and maybe translate it to what you're working on the best way you can. For me, what I've done, this map probably looks a lot different than last time you saw it. I've been kind of playing with it in between work hours here and there, and just trying different things. And if it sticks, it sticks. If not, so I've kind of filled in some of this, and I changed this to actually a small baby mountain because what I decided I wanted to do was I wanted to keep this north segment as almost like a mountain chain that's ending and you're running into the foothills and then it's going to finally give way to the plains. So kind of almost like a transition between mountainous to plains, and I think it'll add a nice effect. But anyway, I'm what I'm hoping to do is I'm just going to kind of talk about this. So what I've actually done is I've went back to basics, and I'm going to kind of explain this as if you're a brand new to this, and what I think is the easiest way to make a mountain, aside from obviously importing your own landmass. But I still think when you import a landmass, I don't think they look just quite right. Um, but anyway, yeah. So I'll just talk about what I've done here, and then maybe in real time or fast forward, I can just do it again. I can just do it again, and then that'll be it. My whole second draft will be done. I'll have all three rivers kind of set and played with. The roads are where I want them to be. The shape, the mountains, they're all there, and then we'll just start working on fine tuning and just doing those feature areas and just making sure that everything is as best as it can be. Right. So I'm going to begin with the theme. So this, like what you're looking at, is not done. I just did this, and I think just like the overall idea is it's going to stick. Okay, we have the river, we have kind of a prominent point, and we have a backdraft or a backdrop, and that's kind of all you need. The theme. So first thing you need to realize is not every theme is going to work for mountains. So if you're going to put mountains in your map, you got to have like you got to have the right theme picked right offhand. Um, like well, that one might work. I'm just trying to find some examples of what won't work. Like, see, this wouldn't be a very good theme to use. Or, well, that's something different. Not so good either. All the vanilla ones are absolutely terrible for mountains. The base game ones are just terrible. Um, I think hands down the best theme that there is for mountains is Vatterton Frost. Like, I guess what I'm saying is if you have the right theme picked, your work is just dramatically reduced. Like you can see this theme is just awesome. It just does all the work itself. You can't screw it up. So that's like step one is just make sure you got a theme with with a good cliff textures. So the one I'm using, like it's perfect for coast and it's perfect for tropical. It's just perfect. Like I said earlier, it's not the best for for the theme colors, and but I'm gonna go with it because I kind of fix that by adding some colorful splashes. Maybe like you'd believe these are flax fields or something. But we're not talking about that today. I think this map has a very good blend between grass to ruined to cliff, and you really want to understand kind of how to break into the cliff, if that makes sense. You want to know how much force to make to get the cliff to show, and that's really all I'm doing. Is I'm just trying to find a good balance between cliff and non-cliff. Um, Secondly, I think the easiest mountain to draw is the sloped mountain, where you just bring it up, have the face show, and then slope it over. See, you can just see what I did. It's super easy, but these mountains occur all the time in real life. When you have a tectonic plate sliding on top of another one, you get these kind of fault lines all the time, and very easy to draw. But if I could recommend one thing, it would be not to worry so much about why the mountains have formed or the lines of them, or like there's a tectonic plate here, so they all the mountains have to line up. I wouldn't worry about that at all. I would just tell you to make sure that your mountain faces are facing where the player is going to be. And so my player is going to be in the middle here. So I would, try to orient everything so that my faces point towards me. Okay? Because like look at the difference between the cliffs and then just the backside of the mountain where I have just nothing but grass and I have to fill it in with trees. There's quite a bit of difference. Um, so yeah, that's just like an easy thing. If you can orient the mountain faces towards the player, I think your life will be a lot easier. Secondly, um, this is a very unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion, and I'm going to say it. If you're finding mountains challenging, make a hill and then turn the hill into a mountain. I'll say it again. Make the hill first and simply turn it into a mountain. Okay? Because you gotta, there's very few mountains on Earth where it's just a peak, a cliff, and then there's no hills around it. There's no foothills. The Grand Tetons are the only mountains I can think of where it's just, there's a mountain and then it goes right to plains. So what I've done, and you can actually see it, if you take away all the cliff textures in your mind, I just leveled out, I smoothed all these, and I just made them big hills, big mounds. Okay, and don't worry, I'm gonna do this again. So I made them nice mounds, and I take my up down tool and something weak, and I'll just do it over here. Like they're not perfect circles, right? So you're just gonna want to kind of draw your, where's water gonna gather? You're just gonna want to draw. I don't know why I'm getting this error all the time. But you're just gonna want to draw some nice ups, some nice downs, and don't be lazy. Don't keep it stuck on the same brush size. Make like a really big dip, and then make like small dips because it's not going to be even in nature. And you're just going to want to add a little bit of erosion and a little bit of face to it so it's not perfectly smooth. So we're going to go back here and you can see what I've done. I've made a hill. I've brought up some erosion marks coming up. Okay. And it was quite simple from there. I just added some crowns. This is the easiest way you can make a mountain. Okay, I'm going to do it again, so I'm not going to change anything, but I pretty much just found the top of my hill, which was 618, and I probably just set this brush to, 50 higher, so 730. I just made some tops and I eroded them, and now I have the mountains. And I made sure to see the faces. See how unappealing it looks from this side? But from this side, it's completely different. So this is a very easy method of making the mountains. Hills, bring up the tops, erode them down. And just another like really good trick if you're new at this is such an easy thing to do, is find a mark halfway down. So this one's 400, and just pull out a layer all the way across. Just pull out a layer, and look what that does. You can just see that there's a rock layer in here that's protruding, and everywhere in the gaps, water's running through it. It's eroding, but just this is like the easiest thing to do. Is just make that layer, and you've added just a whole nother level of depth to your mountain. Okay. Secondly, going back to your theme, I think it's a lot of people's habits just to really pack on the trees. But I mean, before I had a kid, I climbed a lot of mountains, and you see avalanches, you see mudslides. It's not always just a bunch of trees. So just a simple touch like this, where it erodes faster and the earth slides down so trees don't grow. This adds a lot, and it wasn't even a big deal. Just a little, I'm just adding another layer. So just little things like that. It doesn't always have to be trees. I don't think I have to explain to you that the higher you go, the weaker your trees should get. Obviously just kind of make them dense where water is going to gather. Next, if you if you can just draw this triangle shape, you're going to be fine. Just draw this triangle pyramid shape, and you're never going to lose. Here it is again. Just keep on drawing this triangle shape, and it's pretty easy. Okay. Um, yeah. So that's that. I mean, that's how that came to be. I just had the hills. I added some peaks, and then I just wore them down with the up down tool. And this is kind of what we get. I'll comb over it on the final run of the map, but just a simple way. Okay, so now what I think we should do is this little area. I'm going to do it the exact same way, and yeah, hopefully you like it. Okay. Um, so more or less, that's step one. That was I don't know how that was on the fast forward, but that couldn't have been more than 10 minutes really. So basically, what you saw is I flattened this into a whole chain, a range, and I've kind of the first thing I did was I used a big brush, and I've kind of shaped this or pronounced this into three big humps. That's all I was trying to do. And then I kept changing the brush size to add like I'm just adding more dimension. That's all I'm doing. So I think it was Flux who said it best. He had his own like YouTube video, and he said what he does is he imagines a large body of water being dropped, and like where does it flow? And that's like he's really right. Where does it flow? Just kind of imagine it, and then your brush will kind of just take over. Um, Another good part of that video, maybe I'll link it in here, is and he's right. The higher you are on top, the more erosion there's going to be, the more weathering there's going to be, and when you get to the bottom, you're going to be fanning out more because you're transitioning to level ground, which is also correct. I just think it's way 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 easier to instead of just like start at the peak and work outward. I think it's way easier to just draw the hill, and now we're going to work on turning these hills into mountains. Okay. So again, I'm going to keep this in mind. I'm going to remember where the player is. The player is more than likely going to be, over here. So yeah, I'm going to just focus more on having the faces, the cliffs showing on this side. Um, yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Like, there isn't. I guess what I'm trying to really do is I'm just playing with it until it looks good. It's not like a beginning and the end thing. I'm just gonna start crafting it, and I'll quit when I'm happy with the way it looks. Okay, I think I'm just gonna stop. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, for now, I'm just gonna stop here. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop here for now on that, because I got it mostly the way I want. It's just, you're gonna see it back there. Yeah. No. So we'll revisit this again, but for now we're gonna add the trees, and see how it looks, and kind of what I do from this point on. Like you can see, like some parts are like really rough, and they need to be just touched up a bit. But a couple things, like I'm just gonna go over it again. See, the faces for me are pointing the right way. They're like I'm seeing cliff texture, as opposed to like if I shaped them the other way, I'd be seeing this, and it doesn't have that effect, right? Um, I I chose again to do a lateral line. You can see this layer here goes all the way through this whole range. See it again, and I think it just like that little effect really brings it to reality. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and if you got one giant mountain or if you have three little mountains in a row like this, I mean, I think it just really ties it together and gives it an identity. I'll just go back to here and just it's just such an easy little effect. Um, then lastly, um, I don't know if I said it earlier. If I had, I'm sorry for repeating myself. But again, it's the same thing with the water. My brush strength very rarely goes over 0.05. Okay. And if you saw, I'm changing my brush size a lot because like here there's a wide valley. Here's a narrow one. Here's a narrow one. I want it to look wild and natural. And I don't think you get that by just setting a size and going up and down. So I'm always changing it up, and like I said, it's gonna change a little bit here and there, but just for like the basic shape of it, it's gonna stay like this. Like I'm really happy with this. I think I'm probably gonna add like the tiniest of a stream here, or maybe even I won't. Maybe I'll just have the trees really thick there, like you see that there's a stream there, but there's not. And then there was one more thing I wrote down here that I wanted to say, and I was gonna switch maps, but I think I'll just say it now. You want to be really careful. Not careful. There's a better word for this. Um, if you make every single mountain on your map extremely dramatic, they won't be dramatic. Does that make sense? Like you have to do like a couple of things like this. This will be changed too, but it'll be kind of on its own, and this one's on its own. And you don't want to make every single one of them dramatic. You only want to make a few dramatic because you know they lose their effect if everything has some kind of like look at me feature on it. So don't be afraid just to make like a boring one. Like I think this is more on the side of boring. I'm just trying to get the idea across is all I'm trying to do. And these are more on the boring side too. But I think that's great because if they all had these big crowns, this first one wouldn't be special.